Welcome, everyone, to a beautiful space here. I'm calling this Humans of the Heart, and these are conversations about heart led living from people who I'm connecting with, who I feel are also passionate about living in this way, living from intuition and making a difference in the world in their own unique way. So I'm so excited and honored to have my first guest here, Debjit, and I will allow him to introduce himself. And then today we were going to be talking about misconceptions of living from your intuition. So I'm very excited to see where this conversation will go. And now the floor is all yours to share.
Thank you so much, Eva, for bringing me into this episode for this conversation. My name is Debjit. I am a spiritual teacher, coach, and guide. And for the last 4.5 years almost, since I came out of my dark night of the soul, I have been helping people who are on the spiritual path to connect with their inner guidance so that they can live a soul aligned life. I believe you have an inner guidance within you which speaks to you 24/7. It speaks to you through your resonances. Whenever you experience a resonance, your higher self is trying to tell you this is where you need to go. And I teach people so that they can tune in to their inner guidance, so that they can align with their soul purpose journey and live the life that they have come here to live. So thank you so much, Eva, for allowing me to be part of this amazing conversation. I'm excited. Absolutely.
Me too. I am so excited. What would you describe as living from your intuition? What is the difference between that and maybe how you were living before or how you support people to make that shift? How would you describe that?
Wow, that's such an interesting question. What does living from the intuition means? I think you, along with a lot of people who are living the spiritual path, would resonate with me when I say that the whole spiritual path is about living from your intuition. There is no two ways about it. The moment we start tuning into our intuition, we start, you know, connecting with our spiritual journey. And for me, intuition started opening up for me when I was going through my dark night of the soul. Much later, I came to know that intuition was there all the time. It's just that it required trust, and I didn't have it. I was always trusting my mind more than my intuition, the logic and everything. I wanted to be in control. But when I was going through my dark night of the soul, which was going on for more than 10, 15 years, ups and downs were there, mixed with spiritual depression. I remember that at the end of it, I started understanding that I don't know how to navigate the dark night of the soul. My logic is failing, my mind is failing at it, and I don't have a clue how to come out of this darkness. And that time, I needed some guidance, something that could guide me through this, something to hold on to basically. And that is when I started experiencing this inner voice, which is not always a voice which speaks, but a presence that always guides you, like a knowing that this is for you, this is not for you, go this way, don't go this way, you know and I'm like, okay, this is something here. It is very mystical and it does not come with, you know, rationality or logic or explanations. So it was very, scary to trust it because it requires trust. The mind does not require trust. The mind is like, oh, you do this because of this. It makes sense. It will tell you, now you do this, now you stop your business, now you rest, now you meditate, and now you leave everything in your life and focus on this. And you're like, how? That is your intuition. All you will know that it resonates with you. There's
Mhm.
something about it, it resonates with you. Will it feel comfortable? Not always. Will it resonate? Always. It will always bring a sense of peace, a sense of harmony. Sometimes it will ask you to do things that will feel very uncomfortable, maybe leave a toxic relationship or a toxic workplace or leave your old life entirely. Will feel uncomfortable, but it will always feel like you're called to do it and there's an alignment present. It will make you feel like you are becoming more of who you are. That is your intuition. What do you think? What do you feel?
Mm.
What? living from intuition is.
Mm. Very similar to what you're describing. It is like a remembering that we are not just our mind, that we have energy, that we have a spirit. And it
Yes.
is almost like living more as a whole being, like paying attention to your body signals and cultivating some connection to the divine, God, source, universe, whatever you call a higher power. But for me, spirituality is very personal. Like, for instance, I do not subscribe to any one religion. I blend whatever I feel. So I have spirit guides. I will work with Hindu deities. I work with nature. It is for me, it's all the same, and it doesn't matter which one you're working with. It matters that it feels right for you and you feel supported and that you can trust it. So I think that is the key. Again, how you were saying the trust is so important.
Right. So true. One other thing that I would like to add is like when you mentioned trust,
Mm.
one thing to that clearly discerns intuition from any other thing is that it will require trust. you
Mm-hmm.
know it will like, here's the guidance, and you're like, okay, so why exactly am I supposed to do this? And you're like, no, this here's the guidance, no explanation, you're just supposed to trust it, and that's it. It will constantly ask you to trust it, and that's the power of intuition. It will give you the direction, but it will not tell you exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you trust, I've seen, the more you develop spiritually in your spiritual growth journey, that your higher self is constantly seeing, like I say, like from a bird's eye view, where you're supposed to go. And it's telling you this way, not this way, not this way, better
Mm-hmm.
not go that way at all. And when you trust that, you will see, like, okay, there is this divine guidance which knows what I'm supposed to do. And I can like fall back and take the back seat, and I can do, I can live life because it knows. But it requires immense amount of courage, because trust takes a lot of courage. You cannot just trust, your entire life into something. And that is what the spiritual growth is. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to add to what you're saying about how for me, it has been a practice, right? Like, so once you connect to your intuition, you have that as an option, but
Yeah.
it doesn't always mean you are 100% always listening. Sometimes you have those moments where you don't listen and then you realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't listen next time. So it's not about being perfect, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people try to apply perfectionism in their spiritual growth, but it's just about you keep coming back no matter what. You keep the practice alive. You have that devotion. And for me,
Yeah.
that has been how you cultivate that relationship with that inner voice for yourself.
Definitely resonate with this. I'm glad you touched upon this topic, Eva, about the perfection, challenge. I have experienced that myself. I remember that I was reading one of your threads maybe about a week back, and you were sharing something about the perfectionism challenge. And somebody told you that, oh, you told me in our last conversation that when somebody told you must take misaligned actions because you're too much stuck up on perfectionism when it comes to aligned actions, right?
Mhm.
And one thread you were mentioning that, the loop that we get stuck on when it comes to like just taking aligned actions. I'd like to share a little bit of story around this. I
Sure. Yeah.
remember, I think this was the first time when I saw your threads, I was thinking like, hey, somebody, the first time is actually talking about this particular challenge. I've never heard anybody talking about trying to be like very perfect towards aligned actions, because I'm like, I thought that's the only challenge I faced myself in my journey. So I never
Mhm.
heard even talking about it. I remember the first year, I came out of my dark night of the soul. I listened to my intuition. I was able to surrender. I came out. It was such a big deal for me because, like, I was in my dark night of the soul for 10 years or more than that, and spiritual depression. So when I came out of it, it was like, oh, whatever this thing is, this inner guidance, this intuition, it knows, because it got me out of something that was absolutely hopeless. So it's like you have found God or something, and you're like, I'm going to live to the T with intuition when it comes now, because then my life will be perfect. Because then I'll never be unsuccessful. I'll be always doing the right things, perfect people, perfect actions. God, I was wrong about what intuition was because that itself created disharmony. My whole thing was how to create harmony. Trying to be perfect with my intuition and just take aligned actions or very aligned actions, I was overthinking all the time. Is this, and I was scared. Like, what if it's a misaligned action? I will enter a wrong timeline. Then what will happen? And then I'll have, oh my God. And what if that happens? And much later, after much suffering, I remember one day I was like, this is not cool. What I'm doing is not cool. This cannot be the way. And the dilemma was then what? Not listen to intuition, not take aligned actions, because that is what has got me out of the dark night of the soul. And as I meditated on it, I realized that the point was not about taking aligned actions or misaligned action, or there's one perfect action or there's imperfect action. There's nothing. It's about what brings harmony and what brings alignment at the moment. Just take it. Don't overthink. That's it. Does it feel aligned to you right now? Don't overthink. Just take that action. That is, it's for you. There's an infinite number of choices in front of us every single moment. If we try to think about all of it, we're going to go crazy. It's just that right now this resonates. Like, for example, like, we were discussing having a chat a few days back. Both of us resonated with the idea, okay, let's do a podcast. It resonates. No overthinking, nothing, and here we are and doing it. Now, if we overthought about it, what would it do is it will kind of like corrupt the intuitive guidance with intelligence, which will corrupt the guidance. Intelligence tries to make things dissect everything, which is not the way of intuition. Intuition says this way, and intelligence like, okay, this way. What about this way? This way, this way, this way. And no, 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 no. Don't overthink. Just go this way, and the next step will arrive. So this has been one big thing. And so when you mentioned in the threads, I was like, finally, somebody speaking about it. And that's when I also knew that when I'm going to talk to you about the misconceptions of living with intuition, I'm going to be able to chat about all those things that I've not been able to speak out to anybody because nobody talks about that stuff. No, at this point nobody's raised, at least from what I've come across. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share.
Mentioned how in the beginning you were thinking like, oh, I will just follow my intuition and my life will just be so perfect. And for me, it was like very similar. I thought, oh, I figure out the cheat code to life and I'm gonna have all the answers and it's gonna be so easy and flowy because some people in the spiritual space are presenting that that is how
Yeah.
their life is when they are, this word alignment is coming up a lot right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And everyone wants to be in alignment. And for me, I efforted so much to stay in alignment. Like the thread
Yeah.
that you were talking about, it was exactly speaking about that. I was not taking any action in my business because I was
Hmm.
waiting to be in the right energy, to be in the
Yeah.
alignment first, because
Yeah.
I was telling myself, well, if I'm taking an action that's not in alignment, when my energy is not good, then
Yes.
I'm gonna attract the wrong people, then it's not gonna go well. So I was keeping myself stuck instead of just taking the action. And I think part of being human, because now I'm more interested, like, how do we honor that we are both human and divine? Like, it is about
Yeah.
both, not just one
Hmm.
or the other.
Hmm.
And when I realized this, I realized too that it's about embracing the messiness of the journey. Like your
Yeah.
intuition also, it will tell you guidance in the moment, but also that guidance, it can shift at times.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I have never had my intuition say, like, if you don't do this, then you are like ruining your life. Never. My
Never.
intuition, a lot of times, it even says it is your choice. Like, you can do
Yes.
this, you can do that, and it's what you feel. And so, I guess I'm curious,
Mm.
how do, like, how can people cultivate from what your experience has been and how you support? how can people cultivate that trust and
Mm.
the knowing in especially when it's something it's new, right? Like they're in the learning process.
Yes, this is such a beautiful question you have asked, and thanks for asking, Eva. This is a fantastic question, honestly, because what you're asking is like, when we usually start coming in tune with our intuition and we hear people you're talking about, once you've got your intuition, you know, your life is going to be aligned, life is going to be beautiful, everything, basically follow your bliss and you're going to live your best life. Technically, is it wrong? No, it is right. And both of us know that. But then it's not exactly what immediately comes to our mind because we
Mhm.
both have walked the path and we know. What I've understood is this. I remember when the first year started my journey, I thought, now that I know my intuition, everything is going to be all right. It will guide me towards my right clients. It will guide me towards no more problems, my smoothest way to the best, most aligned, magical life. There you go. I'm like, finally, I've arrived, and I'm just going to trust it. I just have to be, trusting and everything. And then it started happening financial challenges, health challenges, this challenge, that challenge. And I'm like, first thing that happened, I remember I was strongly called to start my YouTube channel, which you have seen that I've been developing for a long time, for 4.5 years now. And I was like uploading videos after videos. I would get downloads, uploading videos, and sometimes 3 videos a week, sometimes 2 videos a week. And I was very consistent. And I was not doing it from a place of pressure. Sometimes I would do, because of scarcity mindset. But most of it, the downloads would come and I have to share. And I was like, okay, my YouTube channel is going to blow up. This is going to happen. That is going to happen because intuition is strong. It knows what to do. And then, like, after like 470 videos, I'm like, okay, my channel has not gone there. And like that. And it started happening in the first 2 years. I'm like, and then with clients also I started experiencing. I thought, like, if I just follow my intuition, everything will be all right. Even some clients would come, then challenges with clients will come up. There will be some problems or somebody would leave. And I would be like, after 1 year or so, it's like, what is going on? My intuition was supposed to give me the perfect path. Where is that perfect path? Why these problems are happening? And I questioned, like, so what is this about? And then I started understanding. I remember the first year was done, and I was making YouTube videos. I was about like 100 videos done, 150 videos done, and still my subscriber count was not, exploding or anything. I had maybe 300, 400 subscribers. And I was like, why am I going to now do this? Because it doesn't make sense to do it. But my intuition is like, no, make videos. Well, but why? Nothing happens. No, make videos. And because downloads would come and I would share. And I've been doing it still. That's how I've gotten where I'm in my YouTube channel. But what I've learned from that is what the intuition or your inner guidance gives you is not the perfect path. It's not your cheat code to life. That is precisely what I thought. You use these exact 2 words that I thought too. Yet it's not your cheat code to life. It gives you your most, what I call, it aligns you with your life purpose timeline. There's a technical word, which I teach in my courses and program, but which is
Is it
basically, you can say it is dharma. Yeah, your most aligned path. You come in alignment with who you really are.
that?
And this is precisely what happened. That life purpose path, what I call life purpose timeline, is basically your path of most accelerated and most harmonious evolution. That is what I
Mhm.
received from my higher self. Accelerated and most harmonious evolution is not equals to your cheat code to life. What it means is here you are going to grow in a very accelerated pace. And what
Mhm.
happens for growth exactly? If you go into a school, growth happens. In order to grow, what do we need? We need lessons, we need books. So it's basically saying this is your university. You're going to learn the quickest. So here, the experiences are going to come really, really quick that you're going to integrate really, really quick. And how does those experiences come? Usually in the form of what appears as challenges. Listening?
Mhm.
So I was receiving all those challenges, which was part of my life purpose. And there is this distinction to make. Not all challenges are good. if you are getting yourself into trouble, not paying attention to your intuition, living a completely misaligned life and experiencing challenges, those challenges are not going to accelerate your growth journey the way it can when you're paying attention to your intuition and staying in alignment with your path. And then the challenges that will come, for example, if you're, let's say, not paying attention to your intuition and you're probably doing that same job that you absolutely hate, you know. And I'm not saying that, doing a job is good or bad. I'm just saying, as an example, somebody is like, absolutely hates that job and they're not even thinking of switching that job to a better job, forget the spiritual part.
Mm.
They're not paying attention. This just gives them the money, the lifestyle, everything is secure. They're dying inside. Intuition is saying run. They are like, no. Now the challenges that they're going to come up with, they are going to be very bad, all they are going to the challenges are going to try to push them towards their path, but they're going to be very intense. They're going to get sick. Many people get sick. Many people's relationship break down. Many people get completely, lose excitement with life, go into depression, right? But somebody who is living with their intuition and finally making these choices, left that job, went to a better job, went to another better job, finally created their soul aligned business. Will the challenges end for them? No. Now the challenges that will come will be subtler. They are not going to be as dense. They're not going to get that sickness. They're not going to get that big problem because life does not need to give you those heavy challenges, but still it wants you to become that version of yourself that can serve the collective the way you're supposed to. You're still supposed to become the butterfly, right? So it's going to send you the challenges that are going to prepare you. For me, my challenges were to learn boundaries. I didn't know what boundaries were. First time I started learning, okay, this is what boundaries is. I didn't know. And then learning how to protect my energy, to discern between, what to share, what not to share, not oversharing. Also, many, many lessons. But they happen through the challenges and hiccups that I experienced. And for example, the biggest challenge, which is like, mini spiritual people who finally step into their path and they don't experience immediate financial abundance. The biggest challenge was like, can I walk this path without any external validation at all? So when validation is not happening, no comments are coming, no money is coming, nothing is, am I going to run? Or am I going to still stick with it? If I stick with it, why am I sticking with it? Because literally there is no validation. The only reason I would stick with it because this is my path. This is where I belong. And when somebody has got that down, that is when the finances comes and the validation comes. They are going to still stay humble because they know where I'm coming from. The validation comes and you appreciate, like, thank you so much for commenting and everything. But I'm doing it because this is where I belong. Because validation will come and go, money will come and go, but you will stay
Mm.
and your path will stay.
Mm.
So when you live from the intuition, it is not your cheat code to life, but again, it is your cheat code to life because you have arrived at the most aligned path where you are going to be growing at an accelerated pace. But again, the word growth is the most important because growth cannot happen without obstacles, without challenges. So life will give you the best subjects. It's like you're going to the top tier university rather than going to the bad university. That is what it is. When you follow your intention, you're going to the top tier university, you are going to be given the best books, best teachers, best everything, and you're going to be learning very, very quickly, instead of going through the absolute, disastrous, lessons where you're repeating and repeating and repeating because you're not realizing the first lesson, which is to pay attention to your intuition. That's the first lesson to come to your university, right? Does it resonate?
Yeah. So, I don't know, you saw me laughing a lot, and it was
Yeah.
because you were like, our paths have so many parallels of what we moved through. And of course, everyone, even if you walk through a similar experience, may not feel exactly the same, but there's just like such deep resonance with what you were
Yeah.
sharing because I walked through very similar in my own way on my journey as well. And you're talking about like the growth element, and this is so important to know. So I'm really glad that you brought this up. Some people call here, like when we're living here on Earth, it is our Earth school. So it is the school for our souls to come and to learn and to evolve because just in spirit form, we are experiencing unconditional love and bliss all the time. So, how can you grow, right? You have to be placed into a situation where you can have different experiences, right? So the other thing you're talking about was, uh, you thought it would look a certain way to follow your intuition. And what I want to share about that is it's like creating the stories and expectations of how it needs to look versus embracing where you are. And this has
Mhm.
been one of my biggest lessons to work with what I have, to work with the resources that I have and feel that I am enough and I am in the right place right now. Because
Mhm.
every time we are looking ahead, like it is, I just also want to distinguish. I'm not saying to not have dreams, but what I am saying is embracing right now
Yes.
and continuing to walk forward and create something more because we have this natural desire to expand and to grow.
Mhm.
That is just
Mhm.
everything. We are part of nature. When you look at nature, everything is growing, going through different seasons. Right now, I'm here in the Midwest, and the trees, they're changing their color, and then they're going to fall, and then it's going to be winter, time of slowness. But yeah, just embracing the journey now. And also what I was started to feel, and this is why I love having conversations with you, is the intuition. It's not about the right answer, but it's about feeling supported and guided along the way. That is what the gift of the intuition is. It's not about
Yes.
having the right answer, because there is no right answer.
Yes.
You can try so many different things. And that's what I tell people too. Like, you're not stuck. If you make a choice, like if you leave a job, for instance, and you go to another job and that job is not right for you, then you just go to the next one and you keep making the choice. But it's the difference between choosing yourself versus
Yes.
listening to the outside definition of success and accepting and settling for something that doesn't feel right internally for you. And only you can know
Yes.
what that is.
Yes. That deeply resonates. You are talking about stuff like, like so connected with my journey too. I mean, like there are so many things that were coming that I wanted to share. Like one thing is like when you were sharing that when you're listening to your intuition, you know, there's no one right choice. And one thing that I share with my students during coaching sessions is that when somebody especially asks this question, they say, what is my path? What am I supposed to do? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know what you're supposed to do. What do you resonate with right now? And they're like, I like playing music. I'm like, that is what you're supposed to do right now. So am I supposed to be a musician? I don't know. Right now, that is where you're supposed to go. Then life will show you from the next
Mhm.
resonance and the next resonance. You cannot find out what your path is unless you start taking the first step. That is the thing. Most people, like I was also under this illusion for a long time, that there's supposed to be this one thing that I'm supposed to be doing you know and that is it. And some people might come and tell me, oh, you have settled with something, you're a spiritual teacher now. Well, technically, I am a spiritual teacher. Yes, that's what I'm called to do. And that's what I'm really feeling like. That's what my heart is at the moment. Of course, I pretty much think this is what it's going to be. But then also, I do all the other things that I resonate with. I play music, I sing, I write. I want to make movies one day. I have hobbies, and I'm pretty much going to try to do all the things that resonates with me because all of it is part of the spiritual growth journey. All of it is going to teach me different things that is necessary for my soul's fullest expression. All of it is spiritual, you know?
Mhm.
And spiritual is not what you're seeing me as a spiritual teacher. In fact, I have a music channel actually. And the thing is, that is why I think one of the most important things to learn is that there is to not see the path as in like a fixed path. That's why I call it like a timeline. A timeline is like a channel, like a TV channel, which has a frequency, and that it is a frequency which you can tune into, which is your soul's truest frequency. There's, no one fixed things. It's constantly shifting based on where you are right now. But there is a one core frequency that represents your true unique frequency, of course. But the idea is not to get too focused on what my path is, what am I going to become. Like you also said, like it's very important to honor your dream, because the higher self and the universe will give you inspirations, will give you visions. Like I have visions that I want to do retreats all over the world. And the moment we have the vision, we need to honor that. We need to get inspired from that. We need to bask in the vibration, as in we bask in the vibration of the inspiration. That is the purpose of that vision. Actually, you will see automatically you are going to get inspiration, that okay, this is what I'm supposed to do right now. Some inspired resonance will come up. It will not come from the mind, it will come because you're basking in the vibration of the dream that you have been given. But then again, it's very important to understand the whole thing will not never going to be given. One action, one resonant action at a time. You take this action. Once you have taken that action, what happens is you calibrate to a higher vibration now, because you have literally told the universe, or universe gave you, like, this is your higher vibrational clue. Are you going to take this cue, or you're going to leave it? And like, okay, I'm going to eat this biscuit. You ate it, vibration went up +1. Now you have more high vibrational cues available, more timelines that you can access, because those timelines were not accessible to you because you were
Mhm.
at a lower vibration. Now you take another cue, more choices are available. More choices are available, and you keep going up into the vibrational ladder, you can say. But you cannot see the ladder if you don't take those resonant actions.
Mhm.
So the spiritual path and walking with intuition is so simple. Just follow your resonance. Don't ask too many questions. Do not overthink. Challenges are going to come and you are going to grow from it, because those challenges are gifts actually. They're part of the journey. They're not mistakes. As long as you're following your intuition, as long as you're following your resonance, there cannot be mistakes. Even the good things and the bad things are part of the journey. The good things are good because you have learned your lessons and you're doing good. The seemingly disharmonious experiences that will come, they're here to be transmuted so that you grow for the
Mhm.
next level. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I came up when you were sharing. You share really deep stuff. So many thoughts just
Oh,
come
yeah. We
when
go
you
deep.
explore. Yeah.
I cannot do surface level. It's really hard for me to talk about how the weather is today.
Yeah, I know.
This is what lights me up, having these types of conversations with people. So, that is something that I have noticed really prevents people from even starting, feeling
Yeah,
like they have to have the whole map laid out in front
yeah.
of them. And if they cannot see how they will go from where they are to where they need to go, they feel like, oh, well, what is the point of doing it? But as an entrepreneur, I can
Yeah.
tell you what got me here and how I got to an actual aligned business that I, with my whole heart, love and am so proud of, is by taking the steps, by experimenting, by trying different things. And the gift in something that doesn't work out is the
Hmm.
clarity. Oh, that's not it. Let's go this direction instead, is the redirection. Because
Yes.
I think it's the way we are like taught in school is very black and white, like right answer, wrong answer. But life is not like this. There's so much gray. And when you start
Yes.
embracing that and you start realizing, oh, maybe it is this way, like even just in conversations with people, two, three people looking at the same situation, they will have different ideas about that
Mm.
situation. They will tell you different stories even.
Yes.
So just recognizing there is no right way. And when you can release that and you can,
Mm.
there's like we've talked about this element of surrender too, because we are here, yes, we are powerful beings, but we're also
Hmm.
co-creating with spirit, source, God, whatever you believe in. And for me, it has been like rebuilding that trust, because I
Yes.
also notice people who feel alone. And when I felt most alone in my life, I didn't have that connection. I wasn't
Hmm.
connecting to spirit. I wasn't asking for support. I wasn't asking to see my situation in a different way, to be given a different perspective. And when you start connecting, what's funny too with your mind, because you we've been
Hmm.
bringing up the mind a lot, and
Yeah.
I just want to say I don't um think the mind is bad at all. I think we have actually given it too many jobs. We have
Yeah.
overwhelmed our mind to do all the things, and then we're
Yeah.
wondering why we feel the way we feel, but it's like giving one person way too much responsibility,
Yes.
and they're trying to drive the car and be the DJ and navigate the directions and look
Yeah.
outside, like way too much. It's too overwhelming. It's like our mind, yes, it helps with interpreting and it can amplify our experience.
Mm.
What we're directing it, what to focus on, and it will amplify that for us. The more we say it is not working, or I cannot do this, it will show us exactly the evidence. But once you
Yes.
start working with your intuition, I think one of the gifts I have received is like mind expansion, to see
Mm.
opportunities instead of limitations, because our mind is naturally designed to keep us safe. So
Yes.
anything that feels dangerous or unfamiliar, oh, we're going to stop right there. I don't know about this. And it is through connecting to the intuition, receiving the guidance. And my favorite, when I work with clients, I like to tell the minds of the client, we are going to just listen to what the intuition has to say. We're not making any impact, like any life-changing decisions right in this moment. Don't worry. But we are just going to just listen. And you are welcome to stay, but we ask that you stay and you witness and you please
Yes.
don't interfere, because that's the biggest thing when you start connecting with your intuition. You have to discern, is this coming from my mind or is this coming from my intuition? And you start
Mm.
to feel the difference. And a lot of times when your guidance comes from the intuition, I have noticed, at least for me, because I can only speak to my experience, it feels like the message that comes in, I think, wow, I never have thought about this before. Like the perspective and the guidance,
Right.
it is like I never would have come up with that in my head. So that's one way you know that it is coming from your intuition.
That is so true. I mean, like when you mention the way you work with your clients and how you know, kind of like speak to the mind. But we don't need
Mhm.
to, make any big changes right now. That it has so many similarities with what I do also. And that's why I was like smiling so much. I was like seriously, he does that too. I was like, wow, because it's such an important thing to do. I've realized because like I also don't think the mind is bad at all. Because
Mhm.
number one thing is like I think, this is like my whole spirituality that I share where I come from is like everything serves a purpose. There's nothing which is accidental in the universe. Everything is here by divine purpose. So is the mind. Many philosophies like Eastern philosophies, especially Eastern philosophies, they have given a very bad rep to the mind, as in like,
Mhm.
and like mind is like the mind monkey or mental chatter. You need to stop the mind, you need to quiet the
Mhm.
mind when you're meditating. And I have been operating under this the same paradigm for a long time since I was a boy. And I wanted to feel like, oh, one day I'm going to meditate and all my thoughts are going to cease, and then I have achieved what this meditation is. But much later I found out it is precisely the opposite. When I came out of my dark night of the soul, and I was getting more and more in tune with my inner guidance, which was by surrendering. So when I started to surrender and let go, I noticed that when the thoughts would come and everything would come, like fears, emotions, or any thoughts, surrendering means, okay, you are here, thank you so much for being here, but relax, let go. So I don't have to do anything about it. So you will remember I was telling you about when the first month I came out of my dark night of the soul, many fears would come, like, how do I hold on to this blissful state? What if it goes away? And I was like, okay, I don't have to fix it. I don't have to solve it. Relax, let go. So when I kept doing it, I was not trying to stop the thought. I was like, okay, you're coming. I see you. Mind, you are worried about me. I see you. You're frantic. You're trying to protect me. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. But I have a choice. which is to give you attention, appreciate you, but stay relaxed. I don't have to start the car. I can stay chilled in my back
Mhm.
seat. There is a choice. So when you constantly apply that choice, you will see that you don't have to stop your mind. In fact, all the thoughts are coming here for a purpose. Most often, whenever we meditate, the thoughts that come up, they're not accidental. They're coming because all the things that wants to come up into the surface so that it can be seen, the mind wants us to see. Like, look, what about that emotion, that trigger, all comes up so that it can be seen. And what we do, we tell, no, mind, you're a bad mind. You need to stop. You are annoying me. And it's like a telling a little kid, like, who is asking for attention, saying, no, you're a bad kid.
Mhm.
It does not do anything. Suppressing your mind won't do anything. you know it's only everything wants unconditional love from us. That is what we have been realizing in the spiritual path. So only when you give the kid the attention and hug the kid and listen to it, now the kid will not go on saying things, because it's been given the attention, isn't it? So the mind, I always tell my students and clients that our mind, like all our emotions, is like a little kid. It just wants attention. Give it the attention. And people think like, oh, if I give it the attention, then I will overthink. Like, no, you will not overthink. You give the thought the attention and relax. See it and relax. Hear it
Mhm.
and relax. Like what you do, like you are present, you're hearing me, bring your presence, but you don't have to do anything about it. It's like, okay, I see you worry, I see you fear, I don't have to do anything about it right now. So when I teach meditation to, like, a simple centering practice, when I teach during my master class or during my coaching sessions, just like you, I do this. Like, I tell, like, hey, Eva, what you're going to do is, for the next 5 minutes, you're going to give yourself the intention and the permission that for the next 5 minutes, you're not going to try to solve anything, understand anything, figure out anything, fix anything, discover anything, nothing. Your
Mhm.
entire job is to relax. After the 5 minutes are over, you can take charge of your life. You can fix things, solve things. So any worries come for this time being, you just stay relaxed. When your mind comes and says like, but what about this? You just say, for that 5 minutes, I'm going to go do the things again. So when the mind knows that she is not completely upright rejecting me, the mind is
Mhm.
like, okay, 5 minutes is okay. You can give her that. Nothing bad will happen. And now you can relax. You see?
Mhm.
So I really resonated when you shared about that, how you speak to the mind. I was like, I do the same. And when you also said, like, that you don't think the mind is bad, which I've been really trying to speak out about, because a lot of cultures, I'm not saying that those cultures are bad. They have a different approach, but
Mhm.
from my path, I see like everything serves a purpose. Even the mind serves a
Mhm.
purpose. Don't fight with your mind. It's like when
Mhm.
you know, another phrase that I talk about, I've written blogs on it, is just like master your mind. I don't like the word master your mind. Like, what are you trying to master your mind? So this mind is going to become your slave. Nobody wants to be a slave, So befriend with your mind. You see, if I say like, Eva, I want to master you, you're going to run away from me. But if I say I want to become your friend, there is some opportunity of doing
Mhm.
something together. So the mind is your friend. Like you said, it just wants to protect you. And that is why it constantly telling you things which is it's worried about. It just wants attention, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing. This is why I wanted to have this conversation because look at all of the beautiful paths that we have walked and journeyed. Um, okay, so I want to first share my definition of meditation because it has changed through my lived experience. When I first began meditation, I was thinking, oh, it is about, we hear this term mindfulness, right? Which is also confusing because it's like you are saying that you want your mind to be calm, but why are you filling your mind then? It's like contradicting. Anyway, so first I had like the default definition of meditation. Oh, I will be calm, like, and I was experiencing a lot of mental chatter, no matter what my mind would go, oh, what about this? Oh, don't forget, to do this later. And, during the meditations. And uh, for like maybe 2, 3 years, I actually was not meditating like consistently. Like I didn't have a meditation practice or anything. But what I have discovered through the intuition connection, connecting to my higher self, is meditation is about connecting to yourself and
Mm,
connecting to the divine. It is about cultivating that relationship, and it is about dropping into presence. And when you drop into the presence, that's when you receive the downloads. That's when you get those ahas. But you cannot do that if you're busy focusing on what happened before or where I'm going, because you're filling up that space with, you're like almost distracting yourself. But when you're present is when you open to receive. So I just
mhm,
wanted to share that because I share it on threads all the time when I see someone talking about meditation, because I haven't really come across others who share that, you know. It's about that connection. And like how you were saying, it's not about rejecting your mind or shutting down your thoughts, which for so many of us, that is challenging. I think the more presence we cultivate, yes, you will
mm,
have those moments where you might be in this like blissful state and you're not thinking any thoughts. You're able to get to that state, but it takes
mhm,
the practice. And
mhm.
if you're trying to force it, it's harder to do. You have to, there's an element of surrender to it.
Yes.
But also, the word that kept coming up as you were sharing about the mind is acceptance. And the
Yes.
reason why I have this compassionate approach with the mind, and I never talk poorly about anyone's mind when I'm doing sessions with people and in general, is because my very first session that I did with a facilitator to connect to my higher self, they were calling it inner voice. So I did this inner voice session, and she was talking, like telling my mind, you know, that, oh, you don't need to be here, like just let Eva connect, and like rejecting my mind during the session. And the way that that felt for me, it just did not resonate. And I remember thinking, I never want to make someone else feel that way, that their mind is not
Mm,
welcome. And then I experienced a different practitioner, and she was
mhm.
very accepting. And she said, you can be here, but we just ask that you please let us listen to this other part of Eva, just
Yes,
to hear what
right.
it has to say. And that's where I started to learn, oh, it's like a different approach. And are you familiar with parts work? Do you know IFS? Internal family
I've
systems?
maybe I've heard of it. No, I don't think so. I've heard of IRS, not
Okay,
IFS.
I will have to send it to you if you're interested to explore more. But so basically it is this I think he was a family therapist for a while.
Oh.
So he learned about the family system at
Mm,
Dr. Richard Schwartz, and he was doing the family therapy, and then he start discovering that there are like these different parts within us. So he says we're taught this approach that our mind is just like one thing, like like
mhm.
one character, if you will. But
Yeah.
actually we have many different characters, many different voices within us, and they all have
Mm,
different roles. And he discovered that when something traumatic happens to us, whether it is small t trauma, can be something as little as someone saying, I don't like you, you know, that's like
mhm,
hurtful, but it's not like big traumatic event, right? And to
mhm,
like big T trauma, like when we experience any kind of these situations, especially growing up when we're
mhm,
more sensitive to things,
mhm,
um, there are parts that step into a role to protect us, but then
mhm,
they don't realize that they have to shift back out of that role. So the
mm,
role that these parts have is not their original role, and they go into the role like they do it in the moment, but then they don't know how to shift back, and we have to give them like the
mm,
permission and help them realize like I don't need you to be in this role anymore. So he has this book called No Bad Parts, which when I was doing my hypnotherapy training, someone mentioned this book to me, and I felt like the parts work was explaining what I was seeing in hypnotherapy sessions with people, because it is a lot of like, inner child work. And he explains like some people call this inner child work. But what I love about IFS is there is also the self, which is that higher self, the intuition. And his whole philosophy is like when we connect more to ourself and we can support those parts within us and to have them be in harmony, because sometimes I'm sure maybe you have had situations like this. You have a client and they say part of me wants to do this and the other part of me does not want to do it and I don't know what to do. And so I this is like my favorite, because then we guide like a conversation between those parts, bring in the self to help like be like a mediator and offer perspective, and we come up with an agreement for moving forward so the person does not have to have that inner turmoil and disharmony, so they can, yeah, it's very interesting. We can chat more about it, but parts work, ego, mind, all of that, I see it similarly. It just needs our acceptance and our direction. Because even our ego in the spiritual community, everyone will, well, not everyone, but many people, they'll tell you our ego is bad. You need to kill the ego and blah. And that never resonated for me. For me, it was, I like more the, um, we need to find a way to integrate the ego to support us on our path, because we still need the ego. It is part of our discernment. But when it's
Yes.
left unchecked and we're not in the driver's seat, we're not guiding where to go, just like the mind, that's when we are feeling the chaos inside.
Finally, I'm hearing somebody speaking the things that I've been speaking about. Like, I'm like the first thing you mentioned about like how you do not consider the mind as bad. And now you mentioned how you do not consider the ego as bad. And again, just like mine, the ego has gotten such a bad rap in the spiritual communities. Get rid of the ego, and the ego should be taken away so that you can become spiritual. And my spiritual, yes, I have gone through ego death, but then we have to understand what ego death is. Ego is like a certain identity that you're wearing for a very long time, and the soul has become identified with it. And when going through my dark night of the soul, there was an ego death going on where I was feeling my entire, identity was falling apart. Every single thing was falling apart, as if like I don't know who I am anymore. And the new birthing was happening, very much like a caterpillar to a butterfly.
Mhm.
Now, is the caterpillar bad? No. The caterpillar had a purpose to serve, otherwise the butterfly wouldn't come. So calling the ego bad is like calling the caterpillar bad. It makes no sense. It's part of the journey.
Mhm.
But then, and just like you, I'm so glad, you and I share this foundational similarity with the approach that a mind is not bad, ego is not bad. Don't exclude anything, include everything, because like you said, like when you visited that session, and that was conducting the session, and they were like, mind, you do not stay here. It is very much like, I would say, like, you go with a child somewhere, and you say, you go outside the room, you child, you do not just, the child would feel bad, and the next time the child will become even more annoying. Okay, because you're
Mhm.
doing the wrong thing. Spirituality is about inclusivity, you
Yes.
know, because all of it is you. The mind is you, the ego is you,
Yes.
all the different compartmentalized version that you have created, that also is you. You have to hug everything. You have to embrace
Yeah.
everything and bring it unconditional love. Then it transforms. Do you know Bashar, the spiritual?
Yes. I was thinking about
Ah,
him.
there you go. I mean, I've been following him for such a long time, deeply resonate with his work, Daniel
Yes.
and, Charles Bashar. And, I remember Bashar clearly says that, like when you were talking about the mind and how many times we get very confused with intuition because we are overworking the mind. And I was thinking, like, oh, that is what Bashar says many times. He says that, the mind is given the task which is not supposed to do. He says so powerfully and so vocally and loudly, like Bashar says, like, the higher mind has a job which is to dedicate, like, what you're supposed to go. The physical mind is not supposed to do it. So when you give the physical mind the job to understand those things, the physical mind goes crazy because this is not its job. The physical mind is supposed to operate here and now. It does not know what is going to happen in the future. That is the job of the higher mind. That is exactly how Bashar says, right? So
Mhm.
the here in the higher mind is your intuition, right? So your intuition knows those things. You cannot ask your mind the direction that you're supposed to go. That is the job of the intuition. It's supposed to tell you through resonance, right? So when we give the mind too much tasks, and which is not supposed to do anyways, of course it fails and it goes overloaded. And thank you so much for touching on that one. Yeah, I really, really was resonating with that. Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much, Debjit. I
absolutely.
really appreciate this conversation. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to share any final messages. And if not, then please share how people
Yes.
can connect with you. And I will have all the links down below for them to connect and to check out what you're working on.
Thank you so much, Eva, for being so kind. Any final message? Well, from what we both have shared, I would also like you to share a final message after mine, because I would like to listen to you also, what you think and how you would like to close this topic of the misconceptions of living with intuition. For me, I would say the biggest misconception when it comes to living with intuition is I think that it is going to be struggle free, challenge free, obstacle free. That I think is the biggest obstacle because the first time people start connecting with their intuition, they think like, now I have the cheat code to life. Now we'll know who's the wrong person because my intuition. But even the right person will come with the right set of challenges. you know the better opportunity will come with better set of challenges. The soul aligned job will have its soul aligned challenges. So those challenges are going to come up, but when they come up, do not think that your intuition is not guiding you. This is precisely what your intuition is guiding you towards, so that you go towards those challenges, overcome them, so that you can become the version of yourself that you're supposed to become. It's precisely guiding you towards the right places. So if your intuition guides you towards a lake and or a pond and you do not know how to swim, the reason it has taken you so that you can learn to swim and cross the pond,
Mhm.
and become a swimmer. So that is what I'd like to share. What would you like to share, Eva?
Well, I feel like that is definitely the biggest misconception too that I had from my journey. Maybe the message that I would like to share is one of the gifts, I think, reconnecting to my intuition because we're all connected when we come here. We have that connection. It's very much alive for all of us. The
Mhm.
reason we disconnect is because we are told that's imaginary, or told other stories, or holding on to ancestral things that make us feel like we cannot trust ourselves. And I think for me, the best gift I have received on this journey is to remember how to be my own best friend and to
Mm.
advocate for myself, to believe in myself, even if no one outside of me believes. That connection to self is just so, it's priceless. I can't even put it into words, the feeling of it. And I truly wish for more people to experience that because it is completely life changing. It doesn't mean, like you're saying, that your life will be perfect, but your life has more meaning and your life has um, like a depth to it that was not there before. Before you're looking at the world and your life through your eyes. And when you start connecting to your intuition, you start to feel life more and you start to have like this dance with life, I will say. So
Wow,
that's what I would say.
that was beautiful.
Oh.
It does make sense because your intuition connects with you to your true self, and like the universe, entire universe is like kind of like connected with you. So when you connect more of with yourself, you connect more with life, and That was such a powerful observation. Thank you so much for sharing, Eva. And like you wanted me to share that if anybody wants to work with me,
Yes.
I am offering, a free 1 hour discovery call. I have, my coaching sessions, I have programs, I teach people how to connect with their inner guidance and live an aligned life. If they want a free 1 hour coaching session with me, I'll share the link with you, which you will find in the description and you can apply for it. So yeah, that's it. And if anybody wants to, they can subscribe to my newsletters or read my blogs, and everything is in my website. So yeah,
And your
thanks.
YouTube channel. Don't forget your
Oh,
YouTube.
yes, I have a YouTube channel too. Thank you so much, Eva, for inviting me to this wonderful conversation. I truly enjoyed it. We explored some really deep stuff, and I had so much fun. Thank you so much for this amazing podcast and for doing it and bringing it to the world. I deeply
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Debjit. I really appreciate you and your presence and your wisdom. And thank you for co creating this with me. This was so enjoyable for me. And yeah, it's like lighting so much up in my soul right now. So thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you.